新年明けましておめでとうございます Happy New Year and welcome back to the 12th episode of The Cafe. My name is Yuki and I'm here with my co-host
Ryan here. As always, this monthly live stream program is brought to you by the Nichi Bei Foundation and Nichi Bei News through the benevolence of the Henry and Tomoye Takahashi Charitable Foundation.
If you enjoy what we are doing here at The Cafe, please be sure to leave a like on this video and hit that subscribe button on YouTube for more content just like this. Also, if you want to be notified here on YouTube, hit that bell icon so you can be notified of new content posted here. Also, leave a like and comment down below if you have any suggestions for future episodes or just want to say hi.
For our show today, we will be featuring young Japanese American movers and shakers in our community. Starting off with our appetizer portion, Nakayoshi, a social and volunteer group based in SF Japantown that creates opportunities for community engagement. For the salad portion, we have a segment on mochitsuki and oshogatsu events in the Bay Area.
For our main courses, we highlight ABC7 News producer Lindsay Nakano and then move to our former Nichi Bei intern turned staff and now Buddhist priest in Nara Prefecture, Japan, Jeff Asai. After that, we'll move right into the dessert treat with matcha gâteau au chocolat served by Namiko Chen of Just One Cookbook.
Yummy. And then lastly, we'll check out an origami model for the Year of the Rabbit, courtesy of Linda Mihara, and end the episode with tips of events in the local community. So without further delay, let's
start the cafe. For our appetizer tonight, we can start dining on a story about local SF Japantown young adult organization, Nakayoshi Young Professionals, which is affiliated with the San Francisco chapter of the Japanese American Citizens League. Nakayoshi was started to promote social and networking opportunities for young working adults with a cultural connection in the community, started by Haruka Rowdybush and Greg Inaba and others in 2007.
Since the inception of the Nichi Bei Foundation in 2009, Nakayoshi Young Professionals has been one of our most important partners, providing hundreds of volunteer hours over the years by helping to cater events such as our Films of Remembrance, our Northern California Soy and Tofu Festival, and other special events and receptions. Given our very limited staff in our early years, Nakayoshi was very crucial to our success, such that our very first NorCal Soy and Tofu Festival in 2011 was conceived because Nakayoshi wanted to help revive a smaller event that we held in 2009.
For this segment, we sat down with Nakayoshi founders Haruka and Greg, as well as current co-chairs Steven Santamaria and Natsumi Inoue.
So back in, I think, 2007, myself and a couple other folks who were looking for an organizational space to engage with the Japantown and the broader Japanese American community, realized that there really wasn't a dedicated space for our specific age demographic of young professionals, of folks who are like recently out of school and no longer had, say, like a campus organization to be a part of. Sort of the background for a lot of the organizational framework is actually from the organization's fiscal sponsor, the JACL, the Japanese American Citizens League. So at that time, a couple of us who are in leadership positions or youth leadership positions in the organization leveraged our involvement with the JACL to put together some resources to support the creation of the organizational space.
A group of us just kind of got together at one of our houses and just kind of brainstormed what we liked about doing things within the Japanese American community, and kind of came down to always wanting to have something to look forward to, something to do. And so we came up with a plan of at least having at least one kind of volunteer event and one kind of social event to kind of mix the two in.
I mean, some of our early volunteer events were just working with, say, like the San Francisco JACL chapter, cleaning up the AIDS Grove, Memorial Grove, and Golden Gate Park, or at their annual spaghetti crab feed. But also, there are a number of annual volunteer opportunities that happen in Japantown. Cherry Blossom Festival or the Nihon Machi Street Fair throughout the year.
What we do is we put on a udon booth to fundraise for the group, and it's a lot of work to prep as well as to do the work during the weekend of. But even though it requires a lot of coordination and a lot of energy and effort from everybody and dozens of volunteers, it's that idea that everybody is working towards a common goal and working hard, and that the time just kind of flies by when you're in that situation. And I think that kind of creates sort of a memorable experience for myself.
But then we also had social events too, which we figured would be, a really primary draw for people.
Yeah, our biggest one was our barbecue, I think, where we got a spot in Golden Gate Park, and we just kind of had people. We provided like a light lunch and stuff, and anybody could just kind of come out and meet us and everything. We also did a few bar crawls where we'd all kind of like just go to different bars around San Francisco and kind of network, get to know everybody.
Welcome barbecues have always had a special place in my heart, just because it was the first event I went to. But once you're in the position of coordinating the event and you see not just the new recruits, but also general members, core members coming together from different parts of the community, having a good time, having good conversations with each other, just seeing that it's always so fulfilling that it makes me feel that I'm, contributing to something where people will gather and connect and providing a networking opportunity. So that always feels great and rewarding and fun.
Well, I think one of the things that we centered our group's activities around was the idea that volunteerism was a good way to engage people with the community and to also introduce them to it. So we recognize that for folks in our age group, I think unless you grew up in the community here in Japantown, a lot of times people had a very difficult time figuring out a way to, actually get involved in the community and feel like they were part of it. And so, in terms of being able to, provide people with an opportunity to feel like they were directly contributing and giving them a sense of ownership at the community, we felt like being, involved with, various events in the community or benefits and different philanthropic activities would really help ingrain that in our generation in the community.
This is also ultimately to kind of foster the generation of leaders in the community. So hopefully when folks are coming out of college, they subscribe to our newsletter and our social media and whatnot, and hopefully they can join and become part of that continued process.
We've had members come in who's developed skills and made connections outside of Nakayoshi to the point where they're actually helping to chair other organizations as well. And we see Nakayoshi as that kind of that platform that springboards you to other things, as well as staying within the community and still being involved with Nakayoshi.
as we continue on, people stick around because they enjoy the activities and they enjoy the company that they found in the organization.
Because you never stop learning and develop your skills and then give back to the community. It's just a prime location for that. So hopefully Nakayoshi will continue to be that way.
Young is not a number, so there is no minimal requirements or maximum requirements, right? Professional is ambiguous, so it doesn't matter what you do or how old you are, please join. You could always contribute, right?
Thanks to our producer Greg Valoria for that story. We really appreciate what Nakayoshi has done to support our local SF Japantown community, and especially here at Nichi Bei.
The Nichi Bei Foundation is also proud to support Nakayoshi's upcoming Mochiko Fried Chicken Bento fundraiser on Saturday, February 12th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Konko Church of San Francisco. For more information, search for Nakayoshi on Eventbrite, and also look for it in our tips section of today's episode.
For our salad segment tonight, we go over Japanese New Year celebrations in the Bay Area, which have come back this year, including Mochitsuki and Oshogatsu events in both San Jose and San Francisco Japantowns.
Oshogatsu is a special time of the year for the Japanese American community where people celebrate with reverence the coming of the new year. 2023 marks the coming of the Year of the Rabbit. We highlight two communities, San Francisco and San Jose, who brought back their Oshogatsu events for their community. First, we visit the Japanese Cultural and Community Center of Northern California in San Francisco's Japantown, who held their Oshogatsu event after a long pandemic layover on January 7th. Next, we visit San Jose, where our photog and videographer Scott Nakajima visited the Wesley United Methodist Church Ui Kai Mochizuki held on December 29th. Happy New Year! This is Greg Valoria for Scott Nakajima for the Nichi Bei Cafe.
Thanks to Greg Valoria and photographer Scott Nakajima for that story. Now to open up our main course for this episode, we interviewed Lindsay Nakano, a news producer at ABC7 KGO TV in San Francisco, and got some insights into the behind the scenes of a TV newsroom. As today's episode focuses a bit on young newsmakers in the community, Lindsay is literally making the news.
Right before the holidays, Nichi Bei news writer Tomohiro Ai and I sat down with Lindsay Nakano, 5 p.m. news producer at KGO 7 TV in San Francisco. Lindsay shares how her mom helped catalyze her career direction.
My mom was a news producer at Channel 5 back in the day, and that I think is a little bit of what sparked my interest in local news. I was in the newsroom, when I was really little, during a mass breaking news story in the Channel 5 newsroom. And to see that adrenaline and, everybody kick into gear. It was the 101 California shooting. And then going to college, and trying to figure out a career path, communications and journalism, local media was interesting to me. And so I sort of just casually started pursuing that. Out of college, I interned in Sacramento at, KOVR and KMAX. And so I learned how to work in a newsroom. I was an intern, I was a PA. From there, my first job out of Davis was in Salinas, which was very, very interesting. It's market like 113, 120. It's a little market where basically the staff and resources are so limited that you learn to do everything. From Salinas, I got my break to come back home. There was a financial show at Channel 4 at Cron, and they were doing news cut-ins. So my job when I started at Cron was to produce 2-minute news cut-ins during this financial newscast. About 5 years, I felt like I was ready to grow some more. And some of the limitations of Cron is that they weren't affiliated with one of the big networks, and as an independent station, so the resources were a lot more limited. So I went across the street to Channel 2 at KTVU, which is just sort of a local Bay Area institution. And there were people there that had been at KTVU for years and years and years, and it was a huge growing opportunity for me to, have feedback and critiques and, I went from feeling like the big fish in the little pond to the little fish in the big pond. And then about a year ago, I left KTVU and I joined KGO. And a lot of that was a management decision. I started at KTVU when they were owned by Cox Media Group, and within 5 years of me being there, they were sold to Fox. They had always been a Fox affiliate, but they were sold so that they were owned and operated by Fox. And I worked there during the time of the Trump administration, which is a very interesting time to work for a Fox-owned station. So especially during a lot of the pandemic and the Asian hate crime stuff, I felt like the company's response was not where I wanted it to be. And that was sort of a launching point for me overall in terms of the company's response in many other areas, George Floyd, etc. And so my frustration with the company launched me to look for other job opportunities, which was what ultimately landed me at Channel 7.
Give Sandy a heads up about the A5.
We asked Lindsay who were her heroes and mentors that she looked up to in her area of work.
I think in a lot of ways, probably my mom, but I don't think I would ever tell her that to her face. To recognize where we are in this place and time where there is space for journalists of all backgrounds and races and ethnicities. It's crazy to think that that was not that way, even a few decades ago. And so to understand what the previous generation accomplished in terms of being main anchors and producers and news directors of stations in a market like San Francisco is a pretty incredible task. And then, it's sort of, because it's something that I grew up with, you sort of think it's not a big deal, and then you realize that the rest of the country wasn't like that. It's been an honor to be exposed to people in my fields that have really, broken the glass ceiling.
Lindsay talks about how it is important to advocate news of interest in ethnic communities like San Francisco Japantown.
Ethnic communities are really important. I think it's what makes the Bay Area so unique, right? And I think that it's not, obviously me being Yonsei has a lot to do with it. That would be ridiculous to not factor that in. But I also think, J-Town warrants it. It's that special. It's one of 3, one of 4 in the entire country. It is a unique community that we have here. I think that, our San Francisco Chinatown and Oakland Chinatown are important as well. But I think that they have ambassadors in, the media industry that are able to advocate for stories in that sector. And I just, want to do my part in making sure that J-Town and JA community, stories of importance also are in mainstream media.
Lindsay talks about reconnecting with the Japanese American community and her roots, and the importance of future generations in helping sustain communities like San Francisco Japantown.
I think it's really evolved. In the beginning, it was sort of this, just, I'm here, I'm raised, around it. I grew up in J basketball league. I had to go to church twice a month because that was the requirement. And I think it was sort of something that was taken for granted. Well, especially because I grew up in the East Bay, right? So you came to J-Town and I had to wait for my mom to do JCC meetings at the center. So we just hung out in the gym. We had to come to J-Town for, I don't know, go to the Sanrio store and buy gum. And I think that evolved into middle school and becoming more involved in the center and some of the programs that they have. So I did Shinzen, which was incredible experience. I went to Japan for the very first time. Then coming back and doing Cherry Blossom. I was in the Cherry Blossom court in 2006, maybe, I think. And so that sort of reintroduced me to the JA community in a different aspect, and being able to be an ambassador of the community in that way. And that was sort of a responsibility that I hadn't really had before, being on the court and meeting girls, in Seattle and Hawaii and LA, and trying to figure out your JA-ness from the Bay Area and how that set you apart from other ladies in other parts of the country was interesting. And then more recently, I've been involved. I'm on the Japantown Foundation, and so re-engaging in Japantown and being able to give back and make sure that it's sustainable for the future, and that's sort of something that I've just begun doing, in sort of my new chapter and relationship with Japantown. Japanese Americans now and in the future and future generations definitely have an important role to play. There's huge responsibility. It's not only passing down, all of the lessons of our history and culture, it is also maintaining our community heartbeats like Japantown, supporting our local businesses, and then also evolving them so that they don't fall behind on the times and sort of we have to reinvent them or it's helping some of those mom and pops along so that they don't go extinct, I think. And then, there's a social responsibility in terms of making sure that the lessons learned from internment stay alive and that the stories of internment stay alive, and making sure that, there is more support for that to be more widespread knowledge. I think we do a good job of making sure that people in our community are aware of the past transgressions of the U.S. government. But I think that there are a lot of people, and I think it's one of those things that I forget because we're Bay Area, we're West Coast, we all take for granted that we know. And when you take a step back and you realize that the people in the middle of the country, like East Coast, South, have absolutely no idea that this happened to us and to our relatives. So it is making sure that those lessons are alive and passed down, and that there's that awareness.
Literally, a Yonsei newsmaker. This is Greg Valoria for Tomohiro Ai for the Nichi Bei Cafe.
Thanks to Nichi Bei News staff writer Tomo Hirai for the interview and our producer Greg Valoria for the behind-the-scenes shots, as well as ABC7 for allowing us inside the newsroom. It's really interesting to see what it takes to produce the news.
Indeed. And now for our second main course, we catch up with Jeff Asai, a former intern turned staff of the Nichi Bei Times, who left America in 2006 to teach English in Japan. But unlike most participants of the JET program, Jeff never came back.
Jeff, a Yonsei, or fourth-generation Japanese American who grew up in the San Jose Buddhist church Betsuen, would settle down in Asuka, Nara Prefecture, where he married into the family business, becoming a Buddhist priest at a Jodo-shu temple. We connected with Jeff to see what his life in Japan as a Japanese American minister is like, and how he still maintains connection with the US. We hope you enjoy the segment. Jeff, you used to be an intern and staff member of the Nichi Bei Times, and then you left in the summer of 2006 to teach in the JET program. Why did you enter into that program, and what were your impressions of it looking back?
Oh, okay. So let's see. I had originally gone to JET just to learn Japanese because I had studied Japanese in college, but I still couldn't speak it at that point. So I felt that I needed a year or two in Japan to actually get the language down. It took a lot longer than that. But yeah, the JET program was a good program. It gives a lot of support to people. And so, there's a good network of other JETs that are there to help you. And, they help you get set up in Japan.
Unlike most JET assistant language teachers, you never came back. Did you ever imagine that you would still be there?
Yeah, that's mostly my wife's fault. The reason I stayed in Japan was because of her, and also taking over the temple is because her father is the head minister of the temple. So, yeah, if it weren't for her, I don't think I would be living in Japan. My wife has a sister, an older sister, and her older sister is married. So with my brother-in-law, we sat down and we had a talk, and one of us had to take over the temple because the temples are usually kept in the family, and so it was between him or me, and so we kind of sat down and said, well, okay, who's going to take over the temple? And he said, well, I'm the older person, so it's really my responsibility, and I'm Japanese as well, so probably it'd be difficult for an American to do this job. And so he said, I will do it, but I don't really want to. So if you would like to, you can do it if you like. And it just seemed to make sense to me for me to do it, because he was in the middle of his career. He had kids, and all of that would have to be uprooted, and he'd have to move and all that stuff. And for me, like, I was at the end of my JET contract, which was it's up to 5 years. And so I didn't have much going on. For one, I didn't have any kids at the time. And so, I had a history of going to the San Jose Buddhist church. But what it came down to was that he didn't want to do it. And you don't really want a Buddhist minister that doesn't want to be there, right?
Sure.
It's not like Best Buy or something. We're not selling TVs or anything like that. So
On the topic of cultural similarities and differences, can you tell us a little bit about the experience between Buddhist temples in Japan versus the average Buddhist temple here in terms of practice?
yeah, there are actually a lot of differences between the American temples and the Japanese temples. When I tell people in Japan about American temples, and how like everyone comes to church on Sunday and we have a service and all that stuff, their initial reaction is like, oh, it's like Christianity, because everybody goes to church on Sunday. And I thought, yeah, I guess now that you say it like that, it does feel like that. I think the interesting thing about Buddhism is that it changes based on the country it's in. So in the case of America, everybody comes to the temple on Sunday, probably because other religions are also doing that, for one, and also because it's about the community, and I think particularly like keeping the Japanese American community together. Whereas in Japan, there's none of that at all. So in Japan, what had happened was there was what's called the Danka system, and it was enacted, I think, around the Edo period. And what it is that they were trying to stamp out Christianity, and so all of the people in the neighborhood had to register with the temple, and then the temple would, vouch that that person was a Buddhist and they belong to my temple and they're not Christian, so it's okay. And so it gave the temples a lot of power over the people in the area. But from that point on, the local people and the temple were always connected. And so now today, we don't have Sunday services or anything like that. But I go to the people's house to give Buddhist chants and that kind of thing. But everybody, like almost everybody in maybe a 1 kilometer radius of my house, like belongs to my temple. So, and they have their graves at the temple and all of that stuff too.
Could you describe what your daily temple life is like?
Yeah, okay. So usually I wake up and then I go to the temple, and then I do a short service by myself. And after that, I go to the Dankasan, the parishioners' houses, and I'll give the okyo, or I'll do the chanting, and then we'll have tea and maybe talk a little bit, and then I'll go to a different house, and I'll go to maybe 3 or 4 houses each day, and that's pretty much it. That's all I do, other than like special events like memorial services or funerals. So during memorial services, I'll go to the person's house and then chant and talk. So I mean, I guess that's basically what I do. I think there's a lot of related things that I do, like I have to clean the temple and stuff like that. And also I have to practice writing calligraphy, because that's kind of an important part of our job as well, that sometimes we have to write the deceased person's name like on a wooden slat. And so writing that is pretty difficult, because you're writing on wood using ink, and so it smears very easily. So and you can't just erase it because it's wood. So like that requires quite a bit of practice.
And additionally, maybe you could speak a little bit about differences and similarities in holiday celebrations, like maybe Christmas, or I know Valentine's Day is really popular in Japan as well.
Yeah, so New Year's in Japan is a special holiday. It's, I often tell people that New Year's in Japan is like Christmas in America. New Year's in America is like Christmas in Japan. So what I mean by that is that on the New Year's, it's a very important day, and the family all gathers around together. There's a special TV show called the Kohaku Utagasen, and it's a singing show where they have all the major celebrities and all the major singers. They all gather together on a stage, and it's 4 or 5 hours long, and that show goes on up until midnight. And people go to the temple, and they ring the bell. Our temple has a very large bell outside, and so people have to ring that. You're supposed to ring it 108 times. And so people also visit shrines as well. They do Hatsumode. And so I think, the atmosphere is a lot different. So not only is New Year's Day, but the day after, and like even the day after that, most people have work off, and so everybody's like relaxing and just spending time with their family and eating osechi ryori and things like that.
How did it feel to have a Japanese face but not totally grasp the language at first? And did you ever face any difficulties or even discrimination due to being non-native?
Yeah, well, I think I was very fortunate compared to other foreigners that come to Japan, because having or looking Japanese is pretty useful, because I think a lot of my friends that look foreign, they get stared at and sometimes followed in stores and stuff like that. I remember sometimes we'd go out to eat, and they speak Japanese better than I did, and the waiter would always look at me, and I'd be like, I don't know what he,
Sure.
Ask him. I think one of the disadvantages though was like when I would, like I'd go to the bank or something, and people would just assume that I was Japanese, and so they'd start talking really fast.
Right.
And I think if I looked more foreign, then they would think, oh, maybe this guy doesn't speak Japanese. I'll speak slow and stuff like that. So I mean, that was kind of a problem. I did get stopped by the police a lot.
Really?
Maybe it's because I just.
What did you do?
Yeah, I just have a very fishy look, I guess.
An arrestable face.
Yeah, I think it's because I look Japanese, but I don't really act Japanese. So like when I'm waiting for somebody, like I'm usually like looking around because I don't want to get stabbed. And I think that's very unusual. I think most Japanese people would just like be looking at their phones or staring at the ground or something. I don't know. So
Even in Japan, you remain very engaged in American life, voting from afar in U.S. elections, attending a Black Lives Matter rally in Osaka after the killing of George Floyd, and reading 40 books last year. Why is all of this important to you?
Yeah, it's very important. I think living abroad, gives you a lot of perspective on America as a country, and you realize just how powerful America is. America is obviously the most powerful when it comes to the economy, the military, and politically as well. And you really get a sense of that when you are abroad. Like when you watch the news here in Japan, they often cover the American elections and major events that happen in America, because U.S. foreign policy affects every country in the world. And so I think it's very important for us to take our civic duties very seriously, because the vote that we have, it's something that people all over the world would they would treasure that, and we show other countries the values that we cherish. And one of those would be that we we cherish equality, and we want our neighbors to have the same rights and freedoms that we have. Yeah, I think Americans have I think there are a lot of good things about American culture, and one of them is the American dream. And I guess it's kind of a two-edged sword, in that by telling someone you could be anything you want to be, it has the negative effect of, if you are not something special, that's really your fault, because you could have been something, but you just didn't work hard enough. So, I mean, I think in that sense, it's kind of oppressive, but at the same time, it's also very optimistic, and it sings to the values that we have as Americans, that you can be anything, and you shouldn't let other people stop you. You shouldn't have to conform to other things, and that you really do have the freedom to be yourself. And I think that's a very, very important American value, and I hope my kids will embrace that someday.
A really good buy for them on a one-year deal, someone who has all...
Join us in cheering on Japanese superstar Shohei Ohtani of the Angels, as well as Shintaro Fujinami of the Athletics. This year, we are again hosting Nichi Bei Day with the A's on Sunday, April 2nd at 1 p.m. at the Oakland Coliseum. Tickets are $45 for areas 109R and 110R and include free Fujinami t-shirts. There will also be a free raffle for athletics gear. All you have to do is subscribe to our YouTube channel and you have a chance to win. Proceeds will benefit the Nichi Bei Foundation, publishers of the Nichi Bei News Japanese American Community newspaper, to help fulfill our mission of keeping the community connected, informed, and empowered. For more information, visit www.nichibei.org/athletics.
Thank you to Ryan and our producer, Greg Valoria, for that segment. Interesting what people do in Japan for the New Year's, and how a Japanese American has adopted Japan as their home, but still remains an American at heart.
Definitely. And if you want to keep in touch with Jeff's adventures in Japan, make sure you subscribe to the Nichi Bei News, where he continues to write his column titled Fantastic Voyage. We bring you into a popular part now of our show, the dessert. And so for the first dessert, we have Namiko Chen of Just One Cookbook share a recipe for matcha gâteau au chocolat. Please enjoy. Many thanks to Namiko for that recipe. That's one to put an apron on for.
Mm-hmm.
And Yuki, did you know that 2023 is actually the year of the rabbit?
Oh, I did actually know that. And for our nightcap to celebrate the year of the rabbit, and by the way, this year it's the water rabbit in particular, yeah. So we're very lucky again to have Linda Mihara to bring in 2023 to show us how to make our own origami rabbit to celebrate the new year. Happy folding!
Hi, I'm Linda Mihara. I'm a columnist for the Nichi Bei Weekly, and I do a column called Origami Now. And in today's episode, I'm going to show you how to do a really cool rabbit bookmark, which can also be made from a larger sheet, and it'll be a wearable hat. This is the year of the rabbit, so this is the perfect thing to do for this time. So just need a single sheet of paper and your hands. And let's go ahead and get started. So now we're going to fold the rabbit. A great paper choice for this is a pink origami sheet that has white on the other side. That's going to create the bunny face and the ears. So you want to start with the color side face up, and let's go ahead and fold it into a triangle. So the trick here is you're going to take the opposite points and line them up. Hold it in place with one hand. So I have it like that. And then you're going to pull straight down the middle with the other. And that ensures that it doesn't shift around on you and you have a nice accurate fold, because then what you're going to do is continue folding from the center on out. There you go, nice perfect triangle. So now what we're going to do is take this folded edge and we're going to fold it up, and I would say it's about maybe 1/5 of the way up, and you want to kind of make it pretty even. You could just eyeball it, it's pretty easy to do. So as long as it's eyeballed and pretty even like that, then that's good. You're in good shape. Let's take the whole thing and fold it in half. And you want to fold it in half starting from this point so that you have the right center going here. Okay, so now that you fold it in half, you're going to go ahead and unfold it. What we're going to do now is you have your center crease as your guide for the next step. You're going to take this half of the bottom edge and bring it up to meet this center crease. And so it's going to look like this. This edge should match right here in the corner here. Now you're going to do the same for this half. You're going to bring that up to the center. Like that. So your model will look like this. You got the start of the ears up here, which is kind of cool. Now what you're going to do is take each flap and fold it back down to the opposite point. We're just going to open it up, and you want to line up this edge with this edge here. So this is your pivot point right here. You're just going to fold it down, and it's going to line up here at the center like that, and do the same thing for the other side. You're going to take that and just basically fold that whole flap in half, and it should line up with the outside edge. So it'll look like this, which is great. So let's go ahead and rotate the model so that the bunny ears are pointing up like that. And down below here, there are 2 flaps. So we're going to take the top flap and fold it up about 2/3 of the way up, something like this. So we've rotated the model so that now you have the bunny ears pointing up like this. Down here you have 2 flaps. We're going to take the top layer and fold it all the way up to the top like this. So now you see the pink side of the paper there. We're going to take that same flap and fold it down. This is going to be the head of the bunny. And you could use that center crease as your guide too to make sure that you're right even. Bring it down like that so you have a little distance from the nose to the bottom here. And you have enough to kind of where the ears meet here. Now you're going to take the very tip of that same flap and just fold it up to make the nose. Just a little bit. If you want a bigger nose, make it bigger. But so it'll look like that. So then that's the nose of the bunny. So now we have one more step. So let's turn it over to the other side and take this flap and fold that up to this top here. And let's turn it back over. So here is the unadorned bunny hat or bunny bookmark, if that's what you're going to use it with. And then you could go ahead and draw a couple of eyes in there and some whiskers and make a really cool little bunny bookmark or hat. Now that you've folded your really cool rabbit bookmark, the way you use it, there's a pocket right here, so just slip it on the pages that you want to mark, and there you go. So for more videos on some fun things to fold, check out on YouTube both the Nichi Bei Foundation and Paper Tree SF channels, and find some other fun things to fold. Happy folding. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks, Linda. Water rabbit. We sure have been feeling that in the Bay Area this winter, haven't we?
Most definitely. Next up, we will present a calendar of upcoming events for the next couple of months. But first, we would like to thank everyone for continuing to support our YouTube channel. If you enjoy what we're doing here at the cafe, please be sure to leave a like on this video and hit that subscribe button for more content just like this. And also, feel free to leave us a comment or message on Facebook if you have any suggestions for future episodes or just want to say hi. Now, on to the listing of events.
Well, everyone, thanks for joining us for the 12th episode of the Nichi Bei Cafe and allowing us to be your hosts for tonight. This is actually a milestone for us as it caps off 1 full year of the episodes of the cafe. Woo!
Let's go.
And we're excited to bring you 12 more in the upcoming year.
That is true. We hope that you enjoyed our show and wish you and your family a great start for 2023. And as always, we'd like to give another huge thanks to the Henry and Tomoya Takahashi Charitable Foundation for their very generous support of the Nichi Bei Cafe. We greatly appreciate our collaboration with you in finding new ways to engage our Nikkei community.
In this episode, we focused on young Japanese American newsmakers in the community, and we hope you learned a little something about them.
Now, before we leave, we'd like to share with you a video wrap-up of our 5th annual Nichi Bei Night with the Kings, produced by our very own Miu Nagao, with video and photos by Brandon Miyazaki of Shot Archives. Thank you so much to all who came to the event, which both supports the Nichi Bei Foundation and My Sister's House, which is a domestic violence shelter for Asian Pacific women and children.
Thanks again for joining us at the Nichi Bei Cafe.